New one.
Here we go.
Okay.
Do you still keep in touch with anyone from the war?
No, I don't keep in touch with anyone because I don't know if any of them are alive. I can't find Hickey. I haven't found him for 3 or 4 years, or his wife. The man that stood up at our wedding from the navigation school, we called him King and Martha Cole. He stayed in the service, and I think they are divorced, but she, I think, was living in Center, Texas. Bill Cole was from Southern Illinois, but I don't know if he's alive. He was the best man at our wedding. She was the lady.
What happened on your last day of service?
My last day of service, I went to Truax Field in Madison, Wisconsin, was discharged, came back to Kenosha, came back to Waukegan. I was discharged in October of 1945 in Wisconsin. I was mustered out.
One other story you told me, Dad, was about going over to the war on your first plane trip. How you had to stop. You started in Florida.
Yeah.
Tell me that story.
Oh, we started in Florida, and we were stationed in Tampa, Plant Park, Tampa, Florida, and we got all our crew together, and we got an airplane, and then we flew to Savannah, Georgia, and we stayed there for like 2 or 3 weeks, and we got a new airplane, and we calibrated this airplane to make sure all the instruments and everything, and we stayed there for about 2 or 3 weeks, and all we did was fly a couple hours a day and then goof around the rest of the day. From there we were flying to Bangor, Maine, which would be our last point in the United States before we flew to Newfoundland. On our way to Bangor, my pilot, Woodruff Warren, decided he wanted to see his wife, who lived outside of Washington. So they messed around with the airplane and made an emergency landing in Washington, D.C.
Yeah?
So in Washington, D.C., all of our crew members took off and went home. Woody went home. I went to Waukegan. One guy went to Florida. And we all took off, but we didn't know. We figured this would be our last time to see our parents till we come home. I got home on the 12 o'clock North Shore train. I took a train from Washington to Waukegan. While I was home, I got a telephone call from the pilot. Return immediately. They've ordered us off the field. We had been there for 2 or 3 days, and they figured that the airplane was fixed. Meanwhile, my navigator was from Michigan. He hadn't come back. Everybody had arrived but the navigator, and we couldn't leave him in Washington. We're going overseas. Finally, we saw the Jeep coming out, and there was Mullen, George, and he arrived, and we took off. Flew right over New York, right up to Bangor, Maine, stayed in Bangor, Maine, got all the gear that we needed, and took off for Newfoundland. Then we flew to Newfoundland, which was around the 4th of July of 1944.
Looks like a mess.
Right while we were there, we stayed there till weather permitting. Then we flew to the Azores, to Marrakech, to Tunisia, to Bari, to Foggia.
And that was it, and that's where you're based.
And that we were based in Foggia, Italy.
And how many planes were based there? How many crew members, you think?
We had 28 airplanes.
And you would all go up every day?
No, we would fly every other day. Or it depends on... You'd never fly 2 days in a row. You had enough crews, hopefully, that you would fly every other day. You were assigned.
And what'd you say when you got back? Something about some dice you would play on the wheels.
Oh, on the way over, every time we stopped, the crew members would get out. We had to have a little relaxation while they gassed up. We'd shoot craps.
At the wheels of the plane?
On the chocks, with the wheel chocks. And it was like, just messed around. Money didn't mean nothing because we weren't spending any anyhow. Everything was paid for going over. Our meals, our gas. never got to go to town. They wouldn't let us go to town because we were restricted to go to town because they figured you get to town, you wouldn't come back.
What were the people like in Foggia? Were they nice?
Well, we were outside of Foggia, and we were maybe 4 or 5 miles from the town, and everything was serviced by the Italian people. They worked, did our laundry, did our cooking, did our cleaning, did our stuff. They worked for the Americans. The Americans were there. The Germans had been there before. They worked for the Germans.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions, Sam?
No, I don't think so.
It was a lot of fun in the Army. You didn't have to worry. They paid you, told you when to go to work, told you when to eat, told you when to sleep. At the end of the month, they paid you.
Woohoo!
Did you get any awards or anything like that?
Yeah, I got awards, but I got ribbons. No monetary awards.
No Purple Hearts or anything?
Thank heavens.
Thank God. Why? What does that mean?
Purple Heart, you got injured, you got hurt.
Oh, okay.
Or if you got killed, you got a Purple Heart. Posthumously.
Okay, well,
how old are you now?
89.
And how old were you in the time that you were in the Army?
I started in the Army, I was drafted when I was 21.
Okay.
So you remember a lot of things. That was 60-something years ago. 70 years ago.
Pardon?
70 years ago you were in the Army. Almost. Yeah.
68, 69, 1942.
All right, well, thank you. That's it.
Are you going to keep a record of that?
Well, we can, and then we can put it on the computer.